Welcome to the weekend. I'm John Caldera, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Well, you know, it's election time. Yeah, you probably knew that already. What we have on the ballot are all the good stuff right up front. You know, governor, senator, state house, state rep, and then down at the bottom, who cares what's on the bottom? This man cares what's on the bottom. Matt Arnold from Clear the Bench, Colorado, thank you for joining us.
John, thanks for having me on the show.
Right,
appreciate it.
You're working on an organization that's trying to bring up information about the judges here in Colorado. Let's talk about that first. Judges here sit on the bench because they were elected, because they were appointed, because they were born to those positions. How does Colorado get the judges? And let's focus on the Supreme Court first.
Right. Well, if you listen to them, you'd think that they were born to the position. They certainly seem to act that way. But in fact, they are appointed to the position by the governor. We used to have contested elections for judges in Colorado back in the 1960s. We changed to this new system called the Merit Selection and Retention System. Has a couple of components.
Well, let's talk about the old system first.
Right.
Because the old system was good old-fashioned elections. And so
Judge on
guys
judge.
would run against each other. Whoever got the most votes would become the judge,
right,
including for the Colorado Supreme Court. Is that right?
All the way up and down the chain.
Now, was it partisan? Was it that it was a Republican versus a Democrat and the occasional American Constitution Party candidate?
You know, I believe so, but that was before my time. I believe it was
All right.
marked that way.
Now, I can understand why people were skeptical about the system. I've been around to other states, and it's interesting to see judges advertise and billboards with judges, vote for me, I'm Harry Smith, Justice, and I want to put the bastards behind bars. So those kind of ads. And it makes you wonder that if people are elected to sit on the bench and the people who gave them money appear before them, if they're going to be treated well. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for corruption in that direct election. Is that what led to the change?
That is a big part of what led to the change. And it answers our good instincts. We would like to think that judges are fair and impartial and simply apply the law. And that was the intent behind the shift to this system. And I think it was a good intent. I think the problem is, since we're on devil's advocate, the devil is in the details. And what's happened over time is that judges have started to kind of view that they're in there from that third option, that they're entitled to the position, and they cannot be held accountable.
It's known as the black robe syndrome. All right, so back in the 60s sometime, late 60s I think it was.
I think it was 67 or
67.
So.
Colorado decided to switch from direct election of judges, where they'd go mano a mano, and whoever got the most money and the most votes would win, to this retention system. The idea is that the governor puts the people in, but we at least get to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down every now and then. Tell me how the system works. Let's focus on the Supreme Court and explain it, because I don't think most of us know.
No, most of us don't know, which is part of the problem. What happens when a vacancy is created, and I hope to create 3 vacancies this time around, obviously, and those vacancies would occur at the end of their then present term of office, which is the second Tuesday in January. Well, what happens when a vacancy is created is that there are openings, and people who want to be a Colorado Supreme Court judge apply for the job. They put together a nice application packet, a nice thick stack of paper.
Apply. They actually have to put pieces. They
Just
have to
like
write
McDonald's.
down. We're going to Wendy's. I need a job as a hamburger flipper. Here's my application.
Here's my application.
All right. Do they have to be a lawyer to be a justice?
Yes.
All right. So you have to be.
There are 3 main criteria in Colorado. One is you have to have practiced law, be licensed to practice law in the state of Colorado for 5 years. You can't be a convicted felon. Probably a good idea. And the third one, I think, has something to do with age and residency. I'm not.
You can't be older than 72 years old, I believe, is the age limit. But so in other words, you have to be a lawyer. You have to have been here in Colorado. And
you have to at least be licensed to practice law. You don't have to actually do it.
But you actually have to apply. And to whom does someone apply if they wish to be a Supreme Court justice?
At the Supreme Court level, the State Judicial Nominating Commission. And we just went through this exercise recently after Chief Justice Mary Malarkey decided to resign rather than stand for retention in the November elections. She basically quit. And so she created an opening. And they actually started the process a bit early, but that's insider baseball. But so what happens is a whole bunch of people applied for the job. There were 31 people that applied for the job to replace outgoing Chief Justice Mary Malarkey.
And I'm assuming that it's a mixture of judges who are working in other areas of the law, and a few guys who actually are just lawyers working for a paycheck.
Exactly.
All right.
And it's a mix.
So they go to this committee, and the committee chooses 3 of them. Is that right?
The commission basically then takes a look at all the application packets. They file through to them. They throw out the ones they say, we don't want to look at these guys. They get a short list from the overall list, and they say, we want to interview the short list. They'll sit down, they'll interview these people, and they apparently rushed through that pretty quickly. They had 2 days of interviews this last time around for I don't know how many of the 31 people they actually sat down and interviewed, but it was pretty short. And after these, looking at the application packets, the interviews, they then had a couple of votes, and it was more than one vote to come up with the 3 finalists.
So their job on this commission is to come up with 3 guys or 3 people,
3 gals,
who they can then pass on to the governor. The governor must choose one of those 3.
Right.
All right. Who makes up the commission? That seems to be the obvious question.
Right. Well, the commission, they're appointed by, first off, there are 15 members on the state commission. There are 2 from each congressional district, 1 lawyer, 1 non-lawyer, plus 1 at-large member who is a non-lawyer. So you've got a total of 15, 8 of whom are not lawyers.
Right, slow down, because I went to government schools and I need to do the arithmetic. Colorado has 7 congressional districts.
Right.
So from each of these congressional districts, we have somebody who's a lawyer, somebody who's an idiot like me, and they sit on this commission.
Right.
How do these guys get chosen to be on this commission?
They're appointed. They're
by?
Picked by the governor. Well, the non-lawyers are appointed by the governor, just straight political picks, and they are political picks, obviously.
And by the way, when Bill Owens was governor, he picked his people. When Ritter is,
and they serve for a term of 6 years, so there is at least some, in theory, some overlap between administrations. It's intended to do that. By law, there cannot be a supermajority of any one party. There can only be at most 8 members out of the 15 that can belong to any one party. There has to be a mix of Democrats, Republicans, and either unaffiliated or other parties to make up the balance.
But the governor chooses all 15 members.
The governor chooses all of the non-lawyers, so all 8. The 7 lawyers are chosen by joint action of the governor, the attorney general, and the Chief Justice of the Colorado Supreme Court.
Excuse me while I say this.
Exactly.
So let me see. All right, so 8 out of the 15 in this commission are political picks by the governor. So when you're voting for governor, and you ought to keep this in mind when you're voting either for Hickenlooper or Tancredo or even Mays, that person will be the guy choosing
Picking
a majority of those people.
Right.
The others, it goes through another commission, and that committee is the governor,
a joint action, 3 people. Yeah.
The governor, the AG, and the Supreme Court Chief Justice.
Right.
So if the governor and the AG are of one party, they get to decide basically all 15 people.
Well,
if they're of one like mind.
Pretty much, yeah.
So the power of the Chief Justice is pretty sizable to choose the makeup of the bar of the whole court.
Right. And it's also kind of interesting because we had people on the commission that were picked by the Chief Justice that were picking the replacements for the outgoing Chief Justice, none of whom recused themselves, which you think might have been the appropriate thing to do.
When the Chief Justice decided not to run for or stand up for retention. All right.
Right. And the Chief Justice, by the way, sits as the ex officio, that's non-voting for us, non-Latin-speaking types, chair of this commission. Although she doesn't vote, she does steer a lot of the discussions. So the Chief Justice, in this case,
8 people on the commission who are non-lawyers.
Right.
The chairman of that group
of the 15
is still the Chief Justice.
Right.
Pretty inbred system.
Very inbred system.
All right.
And completely non-transparent, because none of the deliberations of this group are open to the public. The meetings are closed. The records of the meetings are closed. The everything that they look at, even the applications, for the first time this year, and it might have something to do with the fact that more people are paying attention this year, they released the total number of people who applied, 31, and they released the names of the 3 finalists, along with
which they're going to have to do.
What they have to release the names, but they also release some information. The redacted portions of their application packet, and it's appropriate to redact some parts of those. We don't need to know, details about, their private lives or their medical history or whatnot, as the public. So it's appropriate to redact some portions of those, but we only know the 3 finalists and a little bit about the 3 finalists. That's it.
All 3 nominees that go forward to the governor to be chosen, that's voted